This is a book review of Bill Everett, The Submariner and the Birth of Marvel Comics, Fire and Water. This came out in 2010. That's the back cover. It's a fairly finished book. It's not huge, but it's a quality book, and from Fantagraphics, 2010. And how many pages? To be honest, I am not certain how many pages. Must be approximately about 180 or so. Unfortunately, the latter pages do not have page numbers. If I find it, I will turn around and say. Now, it's got a great picture of Bill Everett, 1972, doing colouring X-Men 81. Now, that was a reprint. I actually had that issue. Wish I still kept it. Now, that was a reprint one. Now, which is weird. Fancy putting that on. I mean, great picture, of course, of Bill Everett, but since Submariner, you would have thought there would have been, hopefully, would have been one of him doing Submariner. So you've got a great one here. Introduction. Now, it's a very short introduction. And this book is by Blake Bell. I guess the introduction is by Blake Bell. Growing up, and then, so you've got Growing Up Everett, Early Days of Comic Books, Submariner and the Birth of Marvel Comics, War on Comics, Daredevil Return to Marvel, Bill Everett Art Gallery, and then endnotes 188. So that gives the page numbers for the book. And you've got some lovely sketches. Just these are obviously early sketches. Lucille Ball, obviously beautiful one, Lucille Ball there. Got some photos of, as well as some of the work he did. Goes straight into it. So it's fairly quickly into Uncle Joe's Funnies. Amazing Mystery Funnies. They love that title. Funnies, new funnies, funnies, something funnies, motion picture funnies. Funnies. It would have been terrible if comics had become called funnies. Imagine if you went in shops, oh, we must buy some funnies today. I guess it might have caught on. But you got Tyrants Gold. Complete strange adventure picture story, no less. That's one there. This is 10 cents. 10 cents. Imagine that for comics nowadays. But anyway, this is in colour, predominantly in colour. There's some black and white. Blue Bolt. And you've got some pics again. So there's a real great selection of pics. Amazing Man. And of course, he did a lot of work before. Motion pictures. Funnies Weekly. Funnies Weekly. Now, there weren't many issues of that, I don't think. I've seen some pictures of like 2 and 3, whatever, 4. So they obviously did something for there. But God, lovely to pick up a copy of that back in the day, wouldn't it? And you got here samples of new motion pictures, Funny Weekly. Heroic Comics, Dirk the Demon. So he really produced a lot. This was the thing back then. They produced a lot of material, and some of it obviously would stick, some of it wouldn't. And you got some Chameleon by Paul Quinn and Bill Everett. At least you could read his writing. Read his signature. Bill Everett's signature is one of those weird signatures that, must admit, I struggled to look at. Sub-Zero again. And then, well, actually, when you look through this, you can see the style of Submariner. See Sub, a bit of a clue there. Whirlwind Comics, obviously that was a proposed one from Novelty Comics. And then you got Marvel Comics, Submariner and Marvel Comics. And you've got a brilliant full page, obviously from Timely Comics first issue, Marvel Comics. And I loved it. It's underwater. So you like the blue. You've got the character of Submariner in blue. And it's, again, got some brilliant, beautiful inked pages and really lovely artwork. Absolutely classic. Obviously, the Human Torch battle, Human Torch and the Submariner. Here it is, kids. The result of the most famous battle in comic books. The Finn, of course, was another one. Great photo of the Martin Goodman. Again, another 2-page spread of Submariner. Got some War on Comics. So you've got more like the Uncanny Tales and stuff. You've got War there, and Submariner, obviously, after the war. You've got Atlas Comics, Astonishing, Marvel Tales, Uncanny Tales, Adventures into Terror, Men's Adventures, Man Comics, Navy Tales. And I just think his water ones are just brilliant. And they've got a lovely one here. They've got the published page. published cover. And then you've got Bill Everett. Again, like his signature, like, it was very hard. You would not recognise that as Bill Everett. But God, that's a beautiful cover. Navy Tales 1. I had a couple of Navy Tales. I'm certain I had something Navy Tale 1. I love the Atlas comics. Those 1950 comics. They're just like all over the place. You've got Navy stories, Army stories, crime stories, weird stories, a lot, comedy. So you've got, but then of course, stories to hold you spellbound. Gravesome stories, Ghoul stories. Venus, of course, and that was, I would love to see the Marvel Masterworks Volume 2 come out, or that, or an omnibus edition. Love to see an omnibus edition of all these. These should be an omnibus edition, without a shadow of a doubt. Should be a Bill Everett. If they can bring out the Monster one and the Ditko ones, Bill Everett definitely deserves a massive couple of omnibus editions. I would buy them instantaneously. You got some more Nelly nonsense page. Now, maybe not everything will go into the omnibus edition. I love those stories though. And this one, new, Crazy. Oh, Crazy, I've got a few issues of those as well. Brilliant. Obviously not as good as Mad, maybe, but they were similar sort of style. And I just love the artwork. Just love Battlefield. Bible tales for young folk. But the Venus ones are great. Then, of course, he actually used Venus a little bit later. Of course, we've got one Last Submariners. I love that story. I've got that one. Brilliant. Anyway, he's got all pictures of his family. He's also done some drawings and things that he obviously worked. Then he came back into Marvel, and you've got here Tales to Astonish. You've got, and I love that one, Titan and the Torment. Also, If Kalu Should Triumph, Kalu, good old Kalu. Defenders. Now, that was a weird one. That was Marvel, yeah, because it was Ross Andrews pencils. Marvel feature 1. That was the first Defenders. Most odd. Submariner again. Submariner, brilliant full page there. And also some original and unpublished Tales to Astonish splash page. Gorgeous. I mean, when you look at this, there's part of me that just always regrets that all comic books were inked, because you just got that beautiful pencil work there, and you think, God, if that was, I would buy those comics in pencil form any day. That just beautiful, absolute. But when it's inked, most time it's just ruined. Well, not ruined, that's unfair, but it's certainly, I think, just not half as good, because you've just lost. Anyway, and Outlaw Kid, and then you got some more, and then you got to Namorita. That was in issue 50. I love those ones. Submariner is one of my favourite comics. I've got virtually all of the issues. I haven't got all of them, but I've got certainly the Bill Everett ones. And this one, In the Wake of the War God, and you've got Venus. Now, Venus, of course, turned up later in the Agents of Atlas, and probably elsewhere. You've got some beautiful Black Widow there. Wind Rises, Behemoth. Just, and his pencil work again. Now you can see it changing compared with the earlier. Sunfire. The Man Who Stole Eternity. It's beautiful. Oh, that was in Psycho 3. Skyward. I've done a review of Skyward. I love Skyward books. I haven't got many of them, but the ones I have got, I love. They are just so odd. Horror, mainly. Horror and terror, but they are really good comics. And you got here some more bits of Atlas period, and there's some lovely, that's a great one. The Evil Eye. And the way he just portrays people all sort of like falling over in agony. It's just absolutely awesome. You would not get, and suddenly the end of the world story compressed literally into a page. Just showing from a simple thing, the world's got problems. By the end of it, we all panic. That probably sounds a bit like the way the world is now. So sports action, astonishing, navy combat, mystic tales, and just brilliant. And then you've got end word there. This is just an absolutely, I love all biographies of brilliant artists. Now Joe Maneely would come to mind, but deserves one. And met Don Heck, there is a Don Heck one, but I love these books. And this one is no exception. It's got a great lot of information about, like I say, the birth of Marvel Comics, the thing, but just also about Bill Everett himself. A really amazing artist. I love whenever I find a copy of any of his work, I always pick it up and think, wow, brilliant artist. A very, very good book.